How do you tell the story of a nation? Is it all about its leaders, its wars, its borders? Maybe. But what if the real story, the one that tells you who people really are, is forged in metal and preserved on a dinner plate? See, in Germany, the story of the last century or so unfolds in two parallel lives, a single company and a single, very specific dish. So let's dig in and see how these two threads, one all about progress, the other all about memory, reveal the soul of a nation.
Okay, so our story starts way back. We're talking the 1500s, in the free imperial town of Biberach. Now, this wasn't some sleepy little village. It was a seriously prosperous hub of medieval life. And it's right here, in 1580, that a mason named Michael Handman shows up. He lays the very first stone for a family dynasty that's going to witness and eventually shape the centuries to come.
All right, now let's fast forward a bit to the era of industrialization. This is where that family of craftsmen starts to forge not just metal, but you could say the very taste of a modernizing nation. By 1900, the Handmann family's brass foundry wasn't making things like cannons or clocks. Nope, they were crafting the essential guts of German culture. Fittings and valves for the breweries and the fruit distilleries that were all over the countryside. They were, quite literally, building the machinery of German good times.
And what a leap it was, going from a small-town craft to a true industrial titan. It was all driven by Germany's growing appetites. Handmann made the jump from brass to stainless steel and started equipping these massive, cathedral-like breweries of the 20th century. They were right at the heart of an industry that was scaling up for an entire nation.
But this story of just relentless progress, well, it takes a really dark and sudden turn. The rise of industrial Germany leads directly into the absolute devastation of the Second World War. And this was a trial by fire that would test the company and its heir to their absolute limit.
That's the voice of Arthur Handman. He was the man who was supposed to inherit the family business. He's describing his time in the Bretzenheim POW camp. I mean, he survived heat stroke, starvation, the daily sight of death. This quote, "It isn't just about being hungry. It's about the complete and utter breakdown of society, of everything."
So when Arthur Handman finally made it back to Biberach, this is what he found. The family home was occupied by soldiers. The factory, gutted. Its best machines had been taken by the French. Germany was at what they called Year Zero. The question wasn't, how do we grow the business? It was, is there even a business left to save?
And right here, in all that rubble, lies the symbolic heart of our whole story. With no raw materials, what did the Huntmans do? They went to abandoned airfields, collected the wreckage of German warplanes, and melted them down. They took the aluminum from these instruments of total destruction, and they forged them into Spätzle presses and waffle irons. Just think about that. They literally turned war into food.
But rebuilding wasn't just about forging metal. At the exact same time, a completely different kind of story was unfolding across Germany. A story not of making new things, but of trying to remember what was lost. You see, for millions of Germans, the end of the war wasn't a happy homecoming. It was expulsion. They were refugees in their own country. And for them, food became so much more than just sustenance. It became a vessel for memory. It was a taste of a home they could never, ever go back to.
And no dish captures this better than Gänseschwarzsauer. It sounds intense, I know, and that's because it is. But the name tells you everything. Gänse is for goose, Schwarz is for the black color you get from goose blood, and sour is for the sharp, tangy kick of vinegar. It's a flavor profile that is deeply, specifically tied to a lost land.
Now, this wasn't some obscure peasant dish, not at all. As the great novelist Theodore Fontenay wrote, for the people of Pomerania, this soup was the absolute pinnacle of their cuisine. It was a celebrated part of the Christmas season, a source of fierce regional pride, a flavor that meant celebration, family, and identity.
So think about it. When millions of people were forced from their homes, what could they really take with them? Not their farms, not their houses, but they could take this. The recipe for Gänseschwarzsauer became a piece of home they could carry in their minds. It was an intangible cultural artifact that kept a connection to their identity alive in a new and pretty unfamiliar Germany.
Okay, so let's get back to Biberach, because that post-war act of turning bombers into waffle irons, well, that was just the beginning. We're about to see Handman's transformation from a company just surviving on scrap metal to a global high-tech powerhouse. This trajectory, it's basically the story of Germany's economic miracle in miniature. From just 51 employees in 1949, they hired their first real engineer in the 60s. Then they went global in the 90s, getting a massive order to equip the Corona brewery in Mexico. And by 2017, they're building fully automated logistics centers run by computer-controlled shuttles. Wild.
I mean, this contrast right here says it all. On the left, you've got the gritty, hands-on reality of the post-war rebuild, and on the right, the hyper-efficient, computer-designed, automated world of today. It's a journey from pure grit and improvisation to precision engineering on a truly global scale. And what's truly amazing is that they moved beyond food. This thing here, this isn't a part for a brewery. It's a complex hybrid transmission housing for an Audi. Hampman took their mastery of metal and applied it to the absolute pinnacle of German engineering, the automotive industry. They became a key supplier for the electric vehicle revolution.
But, the story doesn't just stop there. Today, Hampman faces a whole new menu of challenges. How do you adapt your machines for a world that's eating less and less meat? How do you make heavy industry sustainable? How do you even compete when the whole world is your marketplace? The drive to innovate, it just never stops.
So now we bring our two stories back together. The relentless, forward-marching story of technology and the quiet, backward-looking story of memory.
And here we have it, the two halves of the modern German soul, side by side. On one side, you've got the world of Hampman. It's global, it's innovative, and it's all about the future. On the other side, the world of Gänseschwarzsauer. It's regional, it's traditional, and it's completely steeped in the past.
But here's the thing. These two stories aren't in conflict. They are both absolutely essential. A nation, just like a person, is made of both ambition and memory, of where it's going and where it came from. This relentless progress and this profound cultural memory, they are the twin engines of modern Germany.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? We've just seen how one single German dish can hold the memory of an entire lost homeland. So the final question is for you. Think about the dishes that have been passed down in your own family. What history, what journeys, what memories are cooked into your food?